Alright, time to make my own video. So I've been making a lot of light boxes on Warhammer 40,000 iconography. I'm going to hand out a whole bunch of them at our next kill team get together. And thanks to Mr. Pete Webb over at Shirtle, he gave me the confidence to jump into Fusion and figure out how it works. So that's what we're doing today. I'm cheating a little bit on this one. I already have the vector graphics I want to work with. It'll be a different video to discuss creating your own vector graphics. Over in Fusion, got a brand new drawing. Click on Create Sketch, pick the XY plane, and step one is just making a bounding box. Something to give me a visual representation of the size of my print bed. I'm using 250 by 250 millimeter, and I'm going to bring it in by 15. This is just for me to have visual reference to what I'm working on. Down the box. From here, I'm going to turn that view off, create a new sketch. I turned it off so I can actually click on my plane and not the other bounding box. Turn it back on, and I'm going to insert the graphic I want to work with. I've actually worked with this one once before. Computer crashed. Well, Fusion crashed. I was playing with renders. It was kind of a silly idea. And I lost my render. So I know a little bit about this, this particular drawing. I know it's got a flaw in it. We're going to fix that once we get the scale down to the right size. Bring it roughly inside the box here. And I find it incredibly infuriating how sensitive that scale option is. You can always scale it with text. So we'll just kind of get this guy more or less in the middle. It looks about maybe there. Good enough. Let's finish the import. I'm going to turn our bounding box back off. Always check your SVG early on. Problems fixed now will solve many problems later. It's not fun to have to undo everything you've done to go back and fix a tiny little thing and then do it all over again. In this case, it's mostly all rounded edges, which are great, except for this one right here, which is not. So we're going to fix him. When your borders are green, they are constrained. Fixed. So I'm going to unfix that little line. And we're going to do a tangent arc from that point to that point, making it nice and round. Delete the old line, and we'll fix that one, because I don't want to change that once I start working on this. So there's my model. I'm going to do a series of offsets. Just double-click the outer line on it. For no reason other than I like the number, I'm using 2.4 millimeters. I think this gives me the design or the style, the look that I'm going for. It does take a little bit of time, depending on the complexity of your geometry. Whenever you go to start an offset, which I'm just clicking O to bring up offset. I'm sure there's a button up here for it, but I'm using keyboard. So 2.4, 4.8, 7.2, and finally 9.6. The idea in this is I'm going to have several different features on the top and bottom of this model. The way they lock together is why I need so many different layers, so many offsets. Is I'm going to make this part of the model white, and then if I zoom in, this will be a little black spacer, another white accent. This part will be the extended lip that holds it together, and then a little brim, or if you're looking at the base of it, the wall that extends up. Now the problem I have is when I go to do this, I don't want all of this right here to be printed quite so deep. I want to have a nice little curve right here so that it's not so bad. Actually is going to be a problem over here in the mouth as well, but again I have my black line, my white line, which is fine the way it is, but then I don't want all of this here in the middle to be printed quite so deep, so I need to carve that up a little bit. What I'm going to do to fix that, my lines are white right now, which means they're constrained to some other object, because these are offsets, they're constrained. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the fillet tool, and I'm going to cut that down at 1.2 millimeters, just because it's a nice number. It's a multiple of what I've been working with. The line turns blue because I've modified it. It's no longer constrained. It's something I can work with freely. Because I've done that, I can now offset against it. So I'm going to take the little arc that it created, and I'm going to offset on that one again. But this time I'm going to do 2.41 millimeters. I'm going to make it poke just a tiny bit over. So I do that at 2.40. It's really hard to see. That little line right here would be on the inside where I don't want it. Because what I really want is a point right here to constrain the two together. So I'm going to bring up my trim tool and cut that end off. By doing that, I now have a point here. It's now locked those three lines together. And if I come over and do the same thing on the other side, trim that piece off. Now, I've got my little spacer, the white accent. This is the part that's going to be deep, and then the lip itself. I'm going to take this piece and delete it because I don't want it. Is this going to be black or white? I don't know. We'll play with that. I'm going to go through and repeat that process on all these other ones. Okay, so this one gave me some problems because it does not actually connect together. I don't know if you saw in the super time lapse there that I was struggling with that. I undid what I was doing, went back into the rest of the fillets just to get them lined up nice and clean, and now we're going to deal with this guy. How do I want to deal with this? It doesn't have to be perfect or exact, just close enough. If I tangent arc from you, I go to that back point there. I think those will cross. Another tangent arc from you. There, no. Barely indifferent. So we'll just come in real nice and close. Just enough to make those cross. Right about there. I don't even know where it was. I wasn't even looking over here. I was looking over here. So now with that, trim tool, cut out that piece, all of that. Okay, so sorry for the mute. Yeah, with that drawn in place, now can I fillet that? Can that give me a nice round? Hey, look at that. That worked. I'm okay with that. Now I can take that and offset that 241. 241 is not enough though because I changed my. It's enough, but stretch that out. Whatever, close enough. Not building rockets. We're making a silly lightbox. Okay, so outer lip, inner retainer. Okay, good. That's all fine. Let's deal with the mouth real quick. What I want to do here. Yeah, we're going to fillet that. It's giving me so much trouble trying to top it. There we go. Fillet that and that. 2. And back select that guy. We'll say 241. And trim you down. And then I'm going to delete everything in the middle because I don't want any of it. That way you can just hold down the mouse button with the trim tool and it'll erase anything you run over. Or double click the thing and delete it. Right. Trim all of that away. Okay, so now I have my outer wall, my raised outer wall, my white accent, my dead space, and my spacer. Cool. So that's honestly the hardest part of this, is getting the lines correct. Once that's done, the rest of it comes pretty easy. Let's name him Spacebug. I think I undid too far back. Step 1, let's make the base. Highlight everything, extrude. E for extrude. 2 millimeters. There, I've got a base plate now. Cool. Underneath bodies, I'm going to create a group. We're going to call that base. And we're going to leave him there for now. Let's turn the sketch back on, grab the outer wall. Starting over. I usually do this from the top down, so you know what, we're going to do it from the top down because that makes more sense to me. I'm going to select the things that I want to be white. So my space bug and the accent line around him. Extrude those. We're going to start from the top and work our way down. We're going to start at 40 millimeters high, and we're going to do that negative 0.6. That's what I want to see. That's going to be my thin white plastic layer the light goes through. So we'll create a new group, call it face, and these guys go in here. We'll rename all these later. Turn the face off, turn my sketch back on. I've got my white pieces. Now I need to grab my thin black pieces. So the eyeball, these little voids that are right here, which zooming in helps to click on them, and my black spacer. Those are the parts that I want thin. Those are the parts I want thin and black. So we repeat the same thing we just did. Offset, 40 millimeters, negative 0.6, new body, cool. In fact, I need to come in here and create 2 new groups. This one is face white, and we'll create another one, new group, face black. So we'll move the 2 that we originally had, face white, grab all the new ones, move them into face black, turn all that on. So, got what I'm looking for so far. Now's as good a time as any to start working with the appearance settings, because it'll help us see what we're doing. Another tip from Pete, thanks again, use the ABS plastic. It works. I was digging up all sorts of other materials, and there was no reason to. It's just as easy to do it this way. So, my face white parts, unselect what? Back to appearance. Don't think you can drag it to the group. I don't know. Maybe you can. It's messed up for me when I've done that. Yeah, it's like changing everything. But you can drag to the individual objects, so I'm going to do that. That's what I'm looking for so far. So I'm going to close appearance out. I turn off my sketch. That's my super thin 3 layers white and black parts. Cool. And I'm doing the thin parts here because I don't want them to be tall and obscure light from getting into the edges of the white parts. I've had that happen on one of the models I made. Cool. So we'll turn the face off and we'll go back to the sketch. Now I need to do the outside edges of it. It's the same process as before. This is why I do it in reverse, working my way down. Offset 40 millimeters. I want this one to be 5 millimeters deep. New body, cool. Grab the outside edge. I'm going to offset again from 40 millimeters, but this time only 2. I'm going to let that join. What that creates for me is the lip that will retain this against the model. You can see the edges that it's going to use to actually hold that in. In fact, I'm going to just call that lip, face lip, and put that under face black because it's black material. So now we have the sketch, and we don't need the grid. So now we've got the actual top half of the model. This in itself is a print. Lots of different settings that we use to actually get it to look nice, but that is a print. And the more I look at it, I think I'm going to keep these black. I don't think I want those white. Let's pull up appearance and see what that looks like if I make those white. Yeah, I don't like that. So leave them black. That works for me. Cool. So we're done with the face. Turn the face off. Sketch back on, and let's make a new group called base. For the base, I am going to highlight everything and extrude 2 millimeters. That is my base itself. Drag that into base. I'm now going to turn the base back off so I can click on my sketch. Grab the outside wall. I'm going to offset 2 millimeters up, and I want to make this 23 tall. Is that what I want? So, you know what? No, I'm doing it again. Let's work from the top down. Starting at 38 millimeters high, I want to extrude down -3. This is the mate for the lip that I created. So we'll create that. If I turn the face back on, you see how that mates up perfectly with it. Fills in the distance there. Go back and select that outside edge again. I really like putting glow-in-the-dark material in these. So from 40 to 35 is our new offset, distance of -10, and new body. I want this to be separate. That'll make it much easier to work with later in the slicer. So create that. Last one, going to extrude again. I'm going to flip things around. I'm going to turn the base on and turn off the other two. Remember that we're now down at, what would that be, 25 millimeters at the bottom of that. So if I offset 25 millimeters and I want a distance of -23, that will fill that in. And I want this to join, but I'm going to turn off my accent piece. So now that joins to the bottom. I turn off the sketch. Got a nice solid base to work with. Let's extend this out and name these things. So that's base. The next layer that's there, that's the lip. So we'll call that base lip. And then base accent. From here, okay, get in a moment. From here, just for visual acuity, I'm going to bring appearance back up by hitting A. I'm going to duplicate my white one more time, and this time make it just kind of a pale green. Drag that over to my accent piece. This is what I want to work with. This is what I want to print. I've got the very, very thin plastic on the top. I've got a thick band that I'm going to use for my glow-in-the-dark material. What I need to do from here is add in however I'm going to hang it, where I'm going to put the power plug, and in this case, because I'm doing this one cheap, the power switch. But it's dinner time, so I'm going to come back and splice this together, and we'll do that in a minute.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, dinner's done, kids are in bed, all that good stuff. Fusion had a temper tantrum after me leaving it open alone for hours, so I had to close it all out and reload it. But where we left off, we've got a nice face lid here that has, let me turn these grid lines off, It has this contoured edge to it that will provide plenty of grab. If I turn the base on, see where it kind of fits perfectly on top of it. The precision of these Bambu printers means that that will fit. I've printed many of these and they work great. Got our base, all of our features, nice thin plastic, all that good stuff. So now it's time to start cutting holes in the thing. First though, I want to make sure I know where my center of mass is. This is a really cool function, which for this model is kind of unnecessary, but in a lot of others that are oblong or funny shaped or whatever, it is a lifesaver. So I want this to hang on the wall like this. That should be its orientation. I'm going to highlight all of my solids and come up to Inspect, Center of Mass. Click OK. I'm going to get a little marker. That indicates the dead center of all of the volume of all this plastic that I've been using. What I'm going to do, though, is click on that, and it's just short of 127 on the x-axis. I'm going to remember that number. Turn off all of my buddies and turn sketch back on, and I'm going to make a new sketch. This one's going to be on the XY axis, or XY plane. I am going to, let's do this. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to come to a different model that I made earlier. I'm going to steal the keyhole I made. There's no library that you can store common things in. You have to copy paste, which is stupid, but it is what it is. Choose point to position, move that to 127 millimeters, and it's fine up there at the top. So good, we're done there. Finish sketch. We'll extrude that as a whole in a little bit. Next up, I need to put a power plug and a power switch in this one because I'm not embedding a controller or anything. Which in a case like that, I've got another model. Where's my phone? Here it is. I made another one where I actually tore apart a controller box. And if I come in here and hide the face on this one, and turn off the grid so we can see it, I actually modeled in a little container for the controller. In fact, if I turn off everything but that, that's the little model itself. So I can just copy that and paste that somewhere else where I might need it. Really handy little tool to have, don't say. Anyways, back on this one. I need to put an 8mm hole in this. So I am going to turn on the base. Don't need the face. Actually, real quick, we'll do the keyhole. I will turn the base off so I can click on my keyhole shape and extrude that. And turn the base back on so it knows what I'm extruding into. Please highlight that. No, not that. That, please. Extrude. That is what I want to extrude. I want it to come up. I'll turn my base back. My base back. There we go. Now it's a cut operation. Cuts a hole through it. Great. Now that that's done, coming back down here, looking down that straight line, this face right here. This is where I'm going to put my my hole for the power plug. Now, I'll try this. It didn't work earlier. Nope. Because this is a merged shape, it is no longer planar, and I cannot put a construction plane on it. It's only selecting the tops and bottoms of things. It's not selecting that face for it. So I'm going to do an axis through, or a plane through two edges. And it was, if I align my view, come straight down, definitely this one. From here to there. Okay, now I've got a construction plane. On that construction plane, I want to make a circle, actually sketch on the construction plane. There we go. So on my construction plane now, which is flush with that surface, I want to put an 8mm hole in there. Do a circle. I'm going to go up one. Is that in the middle? I don't know. Maybe it's in the middle. Excuse me. Usually turns. Oh, okay, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we'll go over to 6 and start counting 1. 2mm gets me over the base that I put in. I need to come up at least another 2mm from there, so I have room for the nut that's going to be on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me an 8mm circle. That. Now grab that and extrude. Well, I need to finish sketch, but whatever. Make that a hole, cut it through. Oh, that wasn't perfectly. Okay, undo that. Yeah. How am I going to do this? I can do it this way. Can I move that out a notch? There we go. And then extrude through. Yay, now we have a hole. That'll be where my DC plug goes. That might not be enough. I want to move that up. So we'll go back over to sketch 5 here. And edit sketch. Grab our center point. Move it up. Oh, those are 0.5mm. That's why. Move it up to there. Finish. Okay. Now I have 2mm of space underneath it, so that'll give me plenty to be able to tighten the bolt in. I'm going to repeat this entire process for the little power switch I'm going to put in here. So, same decimal power, plug, sketch 4 was my keyhole, so let's make that real quick, keyhole. Got all those, and I'm going to put the switch over here on this face. The advantage of doing the plane through 2 edges, this is actually going to be flat as it pokes through. It's not going to be coming in at an angle or anything, which is nice. So plane 2, let's do a sketch on plane 2. Okay, I'm going to go back and reference this one so I can see my dimensions because it's easier than putting them up. 13.6 by 9.1. That fit perfectly in the last couple of these I put together, so I'm going to duplicate that exactly. 13.691. Okay. So on here, let's eyeball the middle of it, I guess. I can measure it if I really want to. 24, we'll call that, so I want to come over 12 for my midpoint. So we will create a center point rectangle. 1, 2, 3, that's 5, 12, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I already forgot my dimensions. I just put it in and go back and check real quick. So 13.691. So back over here. Alright, I can't edit the shape like that. Should be able to edit feature though, right? No? Okay, well, let's move this out anyways. I need to move it back like the other one. Maybe now I can click on it. Have to confirm it. Confirm the move. There we go. Okay. I thought one of these would be the dimensions. Doesn't look like it is. Okay, so if that is 9 up, you know what? Looks fairly well lined up here. Let's just do another one using that as our reference. 13,691. And create rectangle, center point, 13.6, 9.1. Oh, you only get the dimensions when you actually make it with dimensions. Cool, whatever. Delete all this extra nonsense that we don't need anymore. Okay, so now we have our power plug hole. Finish sketch. Let's grab that and we'll extrude that through. Same deal, cuts a hole. Great. So now we have the plug and the hole. Switch, name that. At this point, we're done in Fusion. We've got a completed model. Oh wait, no, there's one thing I forgot. We got a completed model with a socket for the power plug, with a socket for the power switch, with a keyhole to hang it from. All that looks good. There's something I did forget though. Earlier in the first part when I was going through here, I had rounded these corners off, and that's that when I come through here, I'm going to be sticking a LED strip up against the very bottom side of this green line. Rounded corners make that so much easier. But not everything is a rounded corner. You see right here, I've got a very sharp corner, and that will be a nightmare and possibly even break your LED strip depending on what it is. So I'm going to select those 3 lines and then fillet them. And we'll cut that down to, I don't know, let's try 2. That looks nice and round. Good enough for me. Okay, so now we have nothing but nice round edges. We've got something to hang it from. From our keyhole, we've got DC, power, all that's good. If I turn off all my sketches, turn on my face, I don't see any obvious holes. Everything looks filled. I'm happy with it. Cool. If I turn the base off and look at it from the bottom, the areas like this are not over extruded. They're not coming down the full 5 millimeters, just the 0.6 like the white layers, so it'll be nice and flat. The sharp edges here I do not care about. In fact, I kind of want the sharp edges. They help bite into the... Oh, actually, that's just in free space. I could round that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anything. Yep, all that looks good. So, just for grins and giggles, we're going to make the computer think real hard, and I'm going to pull up a render. I'll save my work first. It was like V3 or something. I don't know. And render. And let's look at my settings. My environment. I like warm lights. And we'll do the environment itself. Somewhere there was a rotate button. I've only just played with this. Turn reflections on because they look cool. Position. There we go. Turn that to be about there. Yeah, that works. And start a render. Except I wanted to do fast render because this will run forever. Fast render. Weird that it... Yeah, there we go. We got the holes now. Cool. So we'll let that sit and think. While that's thinking, let's go back to design. I export this 3 ways. With only my bodies visible, I'm going to export and just turn it to V3, 3MF, export. I'm then going to turn off my face, once the export finishes. I'm going to export, turn to V3 base. Then I'm going to turn the face back on, the base off. Really upset Fusion in the process. Oh, the render's not running in the background. Whatever. Come on, Fusion. It's got 2 seconds before I pause the video. Alright. Of course, as soon as I pause the video, it comes back to life. Okay, so I exported the base. Now we need to export the face. Face back on, file, export, Tyranid v3 face. Alright, so I got base, face, and the full thing. Is the base so big? Whatever. So I'm going to go into Bambu Studio here, add a new plate. First plate, call it base. Second one, we're going to call it face. Go back over to the base. Oop, need to do that. Which, by the way, 3D Builder can look at these, which is why I export the complete thing. So if you want just a quick way to look at these with a free tool, and you're using Windows, you can see what it looks like. And you can even come in and select parts and pull it apart and look at it, whatever, so it's pretty nifty. But anyways, I want the base. It's going to give you the multiple objects. Tell it yes. Ooh, that fits on the plate, just barely. Cool. I had no objects on my plate, so it erased my plates. Now that I actually have an object, though, it will save it. Base and face. On the face one, now that I have this plate selected, I'm going to drag my face over, import geometry only. No, and yes. There we go. Step one, though, I'm going to grab this, lay on face, and flip it over. This thing needs to be upside down. I don't care what orientation I spin it around in, but it needs to be upside down, because we're not doing, well, we are going to do some supports, but not on this piece. Oh, right, I never relabeled all the face parts. Oops. We'll go back and do that real quick, because that makes life easier, and that's something I should have been doing. So, another nifty trick here, I've got the face white and face black. If I select these two body objects, change one of them, face dash white, it'll rename everything I have selected. Face dash black. Boom, just like that. So let's re-export face v3. Yes, replace it, please. Go back to here and reload from disk. Okay, well, it should have picked that up. It didn't. We'll just delete it. Delete. And let's drag you back in. No, do not convert it. Let's ask you that. There we go. Now I have my descriptors, and this is why I care about that. Everything with the word black in it, I'm just going to highlight and change to black. The lip should also be black. I probably should have put that in the description. Of course, I need to flip it back over. There we go. Now we're back where we should have been. For the base, I'm just going to change the base material to black and my accent to the... No, don't do that. The accent to glow in the dark. We're mostly there. We're like almost done. From here, what I want to do is tweak individual settings. I easily could have just done a height modifier or painted by layer or whatever to set where I wanted this band of glow-in-the-dark material to be. I didn't for a specific reason, though. If I go in and slice this and change to a view that's actually usable, it's solid walls all throughout. Okay, cool. Well, what if I want to print this a little bit more economically? I'm looking at 183 grams and 4 hours, 4 minutes. Well, what if I want to take the base, what if I want to take the thing as a whole? No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, thing as a whole and say 2 walls, not 3. 183, 4 hours, 4 minutes. What does that cut down to? It actually adds time and saves me 20 grams. Is that what that's saying? Now I went from 183 to 169, so it saves me, a couple nickels. Actually made it take longer. Oh, because the infill takes longer to print, I guess. Depending on how you design them, that might matter. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it on 3. What if I wanted to print this instead of glow in the dark, which is virtually clear? It takes like 3 millimeters of the stuff in order to start blocking light. What if I was going to print this in white, where it needs to be super thin, and I wanted that to be just one wall? Well, I can come in and just select that one object, switch it to 1 after it reslices, and now I've got that little section that maybe I'd cut the infill out of or whatever. It'll be much, much more translucent. Much weaker, but also much more translucent. So I don't want to do that right now. It's fine the way it is. I'll leave it at 3. Settings to look at in this, and I'm going to be bouncing. First of all, let me come in here and turn on developer mode, because it's not on for some reason, and full screen you please. My global settings, I have a profile that I've saved for this. All the basic stuff is put in here, such as the initial flow rate. I want this to be thicker on the bottom layer. 1 wall on the top surfaces, 1 wall on the first layer. I always use those. In strength, I've cranked the overlap percentage up to 20. I'm using aligned rectilinear because I don't need this to have insane dimensional strength. All its strength is going to be in its walls, the flat layer here. In fact, out of this entire thing, the only place there's going to be infill printed is right in this, and this doesn't have to be super strong. It just kind of has to be there. I could probably print it thinner, but I want it to have a little bit of thickness anyways. I want a non-overlapping infill. I'm using aligned rectilinear. 20% is probably even higher than it needs to be, but whatever. It's what I've been using. It's fast, it's economical, and it works. However, what I am going to do is I want to have... I don't need 4 top layers on the map. So I'm going to go back to my objects, go to base. 3 top layers is fine for that. I don't need 4. 3 is going to print beautifully. 4 is overkill. It's just more time and more material. And what I'm changing is specifically this one face right here. I go back and look at the slicing on it. Why does it say it's... Oh, floating is the... Yeah. I come back and look at the preview on it. Go all the way down to the bottom. I've got my first layer, and this is why I always use the first layers. Not that it matters particularly on... or the one wall on first layer. Not that it matters particularly here, but on the other part it will. Those little gaps suck. The easiest way to fill them in is to print a line directly on top of them. By having one wall on the first layer and one wall on the top layer with 2 or more in the middle layers, you cover it up real easy. It makes those little holes disappear. It's nice. But I get 3 layers, then we start printing infill. Infill goes up, and we're going to fix the orientation of the infill. Then I get 1, 2, 3 more layers, and then we're off to the races doing the walls. This is probably like 40% of the print time right here, just making the bottom 2 millimeters of this thing. I said fix the infill orientation. Look at the direction these lines are running. If I look at it from directly above, I really wish there was a top or an orientation cube. If I pull this next line up, they're not perfectly lined up, but they're pretty darn close. If I zoom way in, you can't really see because it doesn't show up well, but these are virtually the same angle. So you're going to have really long gaps printing from one to the next as that infill pattern prints, which means they're going to sag and they're going to look ugly. I don't want that. So I'm going to come back to my base, and under strength, I'm going to change my infill orientation to 60. Let's see what that looks like. Of course, I have to change lines. Doesn't look much different. I don't think I went far enough, so let's change that again, but now make it like 90. Now they're running straight up and down. You can see, now you can see them a little bit more clearly. That's much shorter lines. So that's 90. Let's do another, what, 35 on top of it? Let's make that 115. Or, yeah, let's try 115. See if we can try and make those 90-degree angles, or at least close to it. There we go. Those are nice, short little lines. So now what's going to happen when it comes through to print that out, I'm going to have my infill pattern running this way, and then my bridge layer, my first top shell layer, running back and forth this way. Nice, super short little bridges. It's going to look kind of funky on that first layer, but it's going to print super smooth after just 3 shell layers, so that will look good. It's also plenty strong. I mean, this does not need to be super strong, and I'm printing in PLA Plus anyway, so it will be fine. It prints all that out, blah, blah, blah. We have a color change in here. I do not have the prime tower turned on because I don't need the prime tower. If there's a little bit of smearing for a couple of centimeters in here, I really don't care. It's just a light accent. So that looks good. I am, however, going to turn on supports because as much as I love my printer, I do not trust it to bridge to save its life. So for this one, supports, I don't turn this on in global because I get caught by that too many times. Turn those on, and I really wish you would just stay on line type. Why didn't you turn on? Auto normal, build plate only. That, oh, those are normal tree auto. Trees will generate. When I was doing normal by telling it only to build on the build plate, it couldn't reach them, so it wouldn't do it. Okay, so we got some little trees in there. Those will come off nice and clean, just to ensure that the top of this circle prints out cleanly and that this guy comes out fine. Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm just putting DC jack on here, something I've been doing on all these, I'm going to throw some text on this real quick. I'm sure you can do this in Fusion. I don't know how. I haven't bothered with it. It's super easy to do here, so I'm going to do it here. Grab text. I like delivery, probably about 8. We're going to embed that by 0.4, and I'm going to put 5 volt. I'll just put that right about, I don't know, there. I'm now going to come in and grab my text shape and change this to a negative. And now I have a little 1-layer imprint right above the power switch, which is dumb. I need to move that. Why did I put it over the power switch that says 5 volt? I'm sitting here talking about the power switch and I put it in the wrong place. Let's move you. Let's do it this way so it actually adheres to the surface. Put you over the power plug where it should be. Not quite centered, and I'm a perfectionist, so let's go back and fix that. Put you down and right about there. As a negative part, it just cuts a hole, and since I did the text with an embed of 0.4, it's just barely embedded in the surface, so it's a quick and easy way to add a little embossing like that. I've done this on a few others where I'll put a triangle to indicate where I might put glue if I think I need to adhere it together. So base plate is good. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Did that just... It just overwrote my... I'll re-export that in a minute. Tyranid Lightbox. Let's call it that. Yeah, I'll need to re-export my base out of here because I just overwrote it with the Bambu project. Oops. So face off, and base on, file, export, turn in v3, base, yes, replace it. Okay, anyways, do that now before I forget about it, because I will forget about it. On the face, this is where things get more interesting. we've got some sharp lines in here. Sharp lines suck to print. So we're going to play with a couple of the different settings. I know my white lines I care about, and normally I would put more descriptive names on these. I think the lip is the only black one that I don't care about making more aggressive. It should be fine as it is. So I'm going to grab everything but the lip, and I'm going to go to quality, and we've got our initial layer flow in there, which is good. I'm going to set my inner walls to 0.32. I'm going to set my outer walls and my inner walls to 3.2. And I'm going to set my top surface to 3.2. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do all these at 3.2. This is going to make it take a lot longer to print. But by setting those, and I can't set first layer. If I set first layer, it's a global setting. Even if I go back up to, wait, can I do it here? Does it work? No, first layer is one you have to define global settings, and I could change it, print this plate, and then change it back, print the other plate. That's a nice one to change, the first layer setting, which you know, I'm just going to change it. Or actually, you know what? No, I'm not, because I'm going to fill my holes otherwise. What I've done, give this a second to slice. If I come down and look at the first layer, and I'm going to change it to line type so we can actually see what's going on. Got one wall. So if I go back to colors, you can see where it's black, white, black, white. Those little gaps aren't that big a problem. The extra flow rate will help plug those in. The parts that I'd be concerned about are going to be like right here, where it's not filling in. I can hear it now. Use Arachne. I don't like Arachne. It causes more problems than it fixes, usually. In fact, if I come over to this one, let's put it in Arachne and see what this looks like. Change that back to line type so we can see it. It made no change whatsoever. It's the same. I switch it back to classic. I've played with this a lot. Classic gives me better results. Anyways, so I've got those little gaps like down here, this kind of thing. This is going to be ugly. I've got a big white plane, then this black plane, then this white plane, and there's going to be that hole in there. And I don't want that. Well, that's why I made the other changes I did. When I go up to my second layer, it's going to help plug a lot of those holes. There's some diversity in it. And you can see even going all the way through those 3 layers, that little pinhole is there. And that sucks. But I can also change my top surface color. So I'm going to come in here and grab my 2 white ones. The rest of these are all black. I'm going to change my top surface to 105 as well. So now on all of this on the bottom layer, it's got just a tiny bit of extra flow. And then on the white parts, when it gets to the top layer, it also has extra flow. And I'm willing to bet that it's going to want to do the white first. It has nothing to do with the order that I have it loaded in here. It's a algorithmic thing based on the amount of material that goes down on the first 2 layers. I bet you the white one is what goes down first. Yep, white is what it's going to print first. So it'll come through, print all of this out, and then it's going to do a layer change, come back and do the black. Now, once it finishes the black on this layer, it's going to go up to the second layer and continue doing the black. Cool, it prints all the black, then it layer changes, or it color changes, goes back to white. It's going to do those 2 for that layer, and then on the third layer, it's going to start again with the white, because that's what it has loaded, minimum number of color changes. So it'll hammer this out. That extra flow on the top and bottom layers should help out significantly. If there was anywhere that this model is going to have any holes in it, it's going to be here. And when I print this out, this little spot, maybe up here. Those are the only spots I would think light might come through. I've printed a lot of pretty tight corners. And there are ways you can kind of improve that a little bit. If I come back to my white and go, select both of them. And I don't know if I can do this from the per object view. I might have to do this at the model level. I don't think I have to go all the way to global settings. Let's go back up to the model level. Yeah, I might have to go all the way back out to global. There's this gap closing. I've never really played with it. It might help, but I'm not sure. All the way up to global level, though, the whole compensation, resolution, things like that. You can play with these. I haven't had a need to change them from their defaults, to be honest. The holes that I do see, like maybe one in a complex print. Let me save this, and I'll show you on another one. Lightbox. So the last one I printed for the Imperium this time. On this one, you can see there's a lot of sharp angles on that, like up here and some of these points down here, and all throughout these feet and everything. And where did it go? 1 second. On it, which is just a low quality picture I took, there is one tiny hole right here in this foot. That's the only one I could find. And I looked carefully, and the only one I found was, where would that be? Flip it backwards. It was on the upper talon. It was this one right here. And look at how tight that is. If I come in and slice that and scroll down to it, yeah, look at how big that, of course that left a gap. That's huge. This is where having the extra layers and everything, it helped close it up a little bit. I mean, you can see the difference from right there to right there. It fills it in some. But yeah, that's a big gap. I would expect that to be left over. But that was the only one. I didn't see a gap anywhere else, and I just stuffed some LEDs in it real quick. I didn't do the soldering yet. But I just stuffed some LEDs in it, and cranked the brightness, and the only spot I saw a little pinhole was right there. The rest of it came out fine. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap this video up. We've got everything put together in the Tyranid box. I'll print this out overnight. I'm probably going to watch it carefully. Oh, before I forget one thing. I will turn on the, what's it called? The Prime Tower. I will turn on the Prime Tower for the face. I'm not going to use it for the base. Don't need it in the base. So, and actually, I do a dangerous, stupid, don't do it kind of thing. I'm going to put my Prime Tower as far out of the way as possible. Because when it color swaps and then comes back to do its priming, I'm usually standing over this with a pair of tweezers to pluck out any little hairs and wispies that might have come up that I don't want, like little black wispies laying down over the white before it prints. Dangerous, don't do it. Not recommended by Bambu to mess with the printer while it's printing, but if you know it takes about a minute to do a color swap and you hear it start to ramp the fans back up so it can go do the prime tear and you get your hands out of the way, you can get away with it. I also need to order the LEDs for this one, so I'll print it and probably just stuff some temporary lights in it. But yeah, wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed.